Girls, before I start this video, I would like to highlight that proceeds from these videos are donated to the Palestinian cause. And welcome to Teaching by SM. Today we are solving Pearson Edexcel International GCSE exam from the attempt of May 2024. The paper code is 4MA1/1HR. You should read this instruction before your exam. I already know this. I'm a big boy, so let's move on. So starting off with the first question, let's read it. Here are 6 cards. 5 of the cards have a number written on them, but there are 6 cards and only 5 have a number written on them and the 6 doesn't. So work out the number that should be written on the last card so that the mean of the 6 numbers will be 11. So this is a very simple question about means or averages. So if you didn't already know, mean is total over the numbers, the population size basically. And so total means we have to sum all these numbers, and since we do not have the 6th card's number, we will assume it to be x. And now we should plug these values into our formula for mean. Plus 15 plus 3 plus 2 plus 9 and plus x, the unknown, divided by the total number of cards, 6, as you can see, and the question told us. And the question also tells us that we need a value for x that would produce the mean 11. So we take the mean to be 11, and so we can find the unknown x using this formula. Questions like these like to test you for your handling of the algebraic equations. They're very simple. Just do it with your open eyes and do not mess up the plus and minuses. You can use a calculator in this exam for such arithmetic. And subtracting both sides with 45, we get x equals to 21. You write your final answer in this box on this line. So as an overview, the question gave us the mean and we needed to find out the value of x that would give the mean 11, and so we basically put it in the formula and we got our answer. Moving on to the second question, let's read it. Here is a biased spinner, which is not a fair spinner. The table gives information about the probability when the spinner is spun once, it will land on each number. The probability that it lands on 1 is 2x, 2 is 0.27, 3 is 0.04, 4 is x, and 5 is 0.12. Alexis is going to spin the spinner 400 times. Work out an estimate for the number of times the spinner will land on an odd number, which gives us 1, 3, and 5. So we need to find out the probability that it lands on these numbers. And we have the probability for 3 and 5, but we do not have the probability for 1, and we need to find that. And in order to find that, we have a basic principle that probability is always equals to 1. So if we put it in an equation, we get 2x plus 0.27 plus 0.04 plus x plus 0.12 equals to 1. And using a calculator or otherwise, you get 3x plus 0.43, this goes here, and 3x equals to 0.57, and x is equals to 0.57 divided by 3, we get 0.19. But this is not our final answer. Don't get excited and write it and move on. The question asks us the probability that it lands on an odd number when spun 400 times. So we just have the probability of it landing on 1 once. Let's calculate the probability of it landing on an odd number when spun 400 times. So let's add the probabilities. 2 times x 0.19 plus probability of 3 is given in the question already, 0.04 plus 0.12, we get 0.54. Now notice that this is the probability that it would land on an odd number if spun once, but the question tells us that Alexis is going to spin it 400 times, so we need to multiply this probability with 0.54. 400 times 0.54 will give us the probability of it landing on an odd number. If you don't understand why I did this, just think of it like the number of times we spin it is 1 and 400 in the question. We have the data for 1 and the data for 1 is 0.54 and the data for this is unknown, so this is probability. So if one basic ratios, we multiply this with this and we get 400 into 0.54 over 1, which is equals to 2116. So if you couldn't understand this, this is for the slow learners. Moving on to the third question, let's read it. Norberto sells white loaves of bread and brown loaves of bread. This is important. He sells 200 loaves of bread such that the number of white loaves sold and the number of brown loaves sold is in this ratio, and 3 plus 2 is equals to 5. So if he sells 5 breads, he sells 3 white and 2 brown. And Norberto sells the white loaves for 1.5 pound each and brown loaves for 1.75 pounds each. 40% of the price of a white loaf is profit, 60% of the price of a brown loaf is profit. Okay, work out Norberto's total profit when he sells 200 loaves. So to get to the profit, we first need to know how many loaves, how many white loaves and brown loaves is he selling from these 200 loaves. In order to get that, we just use the ratio we calculated. Actually, we were given in the question. So we get 120 white loaves and we get 80 brown loaves, and they make a total of 200. So you could have subtracted 200 from 120 and got this conclusion anyways. So if he sells 120 white loaves for 1.5 pound each, we get that his revenue sales is 180 pounds, but this is not his profit. 40% of the price of a white loaf is profit, so 40% of 180 would be the profit that Norberto earns from his white loaf sales, and that is 72. And for brown loaves we do the same, 1.75 pounds each, we get 80 into 1.75, 140, but again 60% of the revenue is profit. So 60% of the sales that he made would be profit, and in this case it is 84. And to sum this all up, 72 plus 84, 156 pounds is his profit. Write your final answer here and move on. Moving on to the fourth question, a pretty simple, cute question, free marks basically. So we need to turn this into improper fractions and make it look like this. So what we do is 2, 1 divided by 5, 1 over 4. In order to make them into improper fractions, we multiply this and then add the product with the numerator. So in order to do that, 3 times 2 is 6, 6 plus 1, 7 over 3, the denominator remains the same, divided by 5 times 4 is 20 plus 1, 21, divided by 4, and since there is a divide sign in between, we reciprocate the other fraction, 7 divided by 3 into 4 divided by 21, and if we do the cancellations we get this, and 4 times 1 is 4 and 3 times 3 is 9, and we get the answer, hence shown. Move on, or you could write QED. It's a fancier version of saying this. On to the fifth question, let's give it a read. Slavomir invests 5,200 euros in a savings account for 4 years. He gets a 2.5% per year compound interest. Work out how much money Slavomir will have in the savings account at the end of 4 years. Give your answer correct to the nearest euro. So I want to show you an illustration of what's really happening around here for your concepts. So right now we are standing, Slavomir is standing at year 0, which is the start of year 1, and we have the end of year 1, end of year 2, end of year 3, end of year 4. This is where his interest gets compounded into his principal amount. So today he invests 5,200, and 1 year later he would get 2.5% interest compounded into his principal, or you could write it as 102.5% would be the amount that he would receive if he were to cash out his money at the end of first year, or we could just say his money would now be worth 1.025 times the original amount. So if we were to get the value of his cash at the end of first year, we would go 1.025, and consequently the product of this would then be multiplied by 1.025 to get to the end of second year, and then so on and so forth. We do it 4 times, we get to the end of fourth year. Now this was just for your understanding, since you all are GCSE students. In the big boy world we would write it as raised to the power 4, because this is exactly this, and you get the answer of what would be the worth of Slavovir's money at the end of 4 years. This is 5739.83, but since the question tells us to round it to the nearest euro, we would round it in this way that I'm going to show you how we do rounding. This is the nearest euro, and we see that if this value is greater than 5, then we take this number up one whole digit up, so this would be 5740. This is the rounding. So you write your answer here and move on, you get full marks. Sixth question of the exam, let's give it a read. The diagram shows a solid wooden cylinder. The dynamics of this cylinder is given. Radius is 8 centimeter and the height appears to be 8 centimeter. Although in exam you should take the exam's wording and not assume from the shape, because the diagram not accurately drawn is a disclaimer for that. Continuing, the cylinder has a radius of 8 cm and a height of 8 cm. The volume of the cylinder is 1208 cm cube. Work out the value of h. Give your answer to the nearest whole number, and for this you need to know the volume of the cylinder, but unfortunately we are not geniuses, not even me, newsflash. So this formula is given on the second sheet of your exam. The volume of cylinder formula is pi r square h. Pi r square h. Guess what's r? It's given in the exam, 8 centimeter. So simply using what's given to us, and the volume is also given 1208, we find out h. 1208 divided by 64 into pi. If you don't know how to enter pi on your calculator, well, good luck, but in my calculator it's shift and exponent button, and you get the answer 6 centimeter. Write your answer and you have 2 marks. Congratulations. Of this question is stating that the density of wood is 1.25 grams per centimeter cube. Work out the mass of the cylinder. Give your answer in kilograms. So density is basically how dense this cylinder is. Well, that sounds pretty dumb, but this is not a physics exam, so let's just focus on what's given to us. 1.25 equals to grams over centimeter cube. We do not know the mass, so this is the unit for mass, grams, and this is the unit for volume, centimeter cube, which we calculated in the first part. Well, we didn't even calculate it, it was given to us. So without acting like this is tough, we just put in what's given to us. The volume was given to us, so now you know that the formula for density is mass over volume, and we now know the mass with this equation, and it is 1.25 times 1208. It is 1510 grams. So this is how many grams this cylinder weighs. Write your answer and move on. Now this is what you need to remember. See, now this is a very good learning point for you, since that I erased, and now you can know what blunder you could have made in the exam. The unit here is grams, and the unit in the answer requirement is kilograms. So 1000 grams equals 1 kg, and so 1510 grams would be divided by 1000 to give us answer in kgs, and that is 1.51 kgs. This would be your final answer. Good day. Seventh question is very simple. You need to know laws of indices to solve this. So G9 divided by G2. So let's assume that there are 9 G's above and 2 G's below. So the 2 G's would try to kill the G's above, and it would be 7 G's remaining over 1. We don't obviously show that, so your final answer will be G7. This is another question. You also need to know indices for this. So when we see that the same variable is getting divided with different powers, the powers try to subtract each other, and when they are getting multiplied, the powers will add up to each other. So if we multiply 5k square with k cube, we would get 5k, and 2 will be added to 3. It would be 5k5 plus 20. 5 times 4 is 20 into k square. Your final answer would be 5k5 raised to the power 5, plus 20k square. Factorize. You need to know factorization for this. So just to give you an idea, there will be 2 brackets, and multiplying those 2 brackets should give us this. So we know there is no number with x, so x and x, if they multiply, they give us x square. Makes total sense. And a number here and a number here would multiply to give us 63. Now it makes sense that the numbers are 7 and 9, and 7 and 9 multiply and give us 63, and something gives us 2x. So if we put up x plus 7 and an x minus 9, we can now visualize that 7x would be a plus, and if this multiplied with this, 9x would be a minus, so plus 7x minus 9x would give us minus 2x. This requires a little bit of guesswork, or there are formulas for it which I don't want to get into right now, but this would be easily solved if you tried. So the final answer would be x plus 7, x minus 9. To solve this, there are multiple ways. You could use the quadratic formula. Since calculators are allowed, you don't even need a formula, and there is a 1 mark for this. You can use the calculator for solving this, or you should know that this is actually turning this is actually the points on a graph where the line cuts the x-axis. That is out of the scope of your syllabus, so just know that x that when we write x plus 7 inside a bracket, it is actually an equation, so it would be x minus 7, and when we write x plus 9 inside a bracket, sorry, it's x minus 9, when we write x minus 9 inside a bracket, it's actually an equation, and this would be x9. So the answer here is x equals to minus 7 and x equals to 9, or just write minus 7 comma 9. You would be able to solve this. Seventh question, we have solved the inequality. 7 minus 2y is less than 3y minus 12. The inequality sign doesn't really change anything. For most of the question, you would just treat it like this, unless you are sending something negative to be multiplied on that side, then the sign changes. So that's all you need to know to solve this. Now 7 minus 2y less than 3y minus 12, so would be 3y plus 2y minus 12, and this goes here, and this would be 19. 5y, y would be see, I made a mistake. Y would be greater than, because remember, greater than 19 over 5. Does the question tell us to give an answer in decimals or not? So just write y is greater than 19 over 5 and you are good to go. Successfully reached the 8th question of this exam. Let's read it. The diagram shows a trapezium ABCD. A, B, C, D. The sides are labeled 15 centimeter, 14 centimeter. DAB and ADC are right angles. The square indicates that. And AD is 15 centimeter, DC is 14 centimeter as labeled on the shape. The area of the trapezium is 360 centimeter square. Work out the perimeter of the trapezium. If you don't know what a perimeter is the sum of all the outer boundaries lengths of a shape. So this 15 plus 14 plus this and plus this would give you the perimeter. So 15 plus 14 plus BC plus AB would be perimeter. But we obviously don't know what these sides are. So, but we do have a clue in the question. The question is meant to be solved, so you always need to look for clues in the question and not get confused by what's not given. So the area of the trapezium is given, but we don't know what that is. Well, the formula sheet in your exam actually tells you what the formula for trapezium is. Let me pull that up. As you can see, the formula for an area of the trapezium is half A and B are the parallel sides of this trapezium and multiplied with height. Now height in this case would be 15 centimeters. These are the parallel sides as they move in the same direction, if you could visualize, and this is our height. So putting this into the formula, we get 14 plus AB times height. It gives us 360 centimeters square. Solving this, we get 14 plus AB times 15, because we have the height in this question, times 2, we sent it here, and 14 plus AB equals to 360 over into 2 divided by 15. So I'm gonna solve it just so it doesn't get any more messy than it already is. Gives us 48. AB equals to 48. AB equals to 48 minus 14. AB equals to, I'm showing maximum steps here for your understanding. You can obviously cut this short. in your exam or this short. So we now have a b in this question, and we need to find the perimeter. So we know that now AB is equal to, we just calculated that, what was that, 34 centimeters. 34 centimeters, and if we draw a line, this is 14 centimeter because a trapezium is a square and a triangle. So this is 14, and 14 minus 34, this remaining area would be 20 centimeter, and the height is 15. We now need to know the line BC. Let's call this H, not as in height but as in hypotenuse of this triangle B, which I have just labeled. So in order to find hypotenuse, we have to use this formula: P square plus B square. P is perpendicular, B is the base. Uh, Usually this is the perpendicular and this is the base, depending on what angle you are looking at it from, but either ways this works. So h square equals to 20 square plus 15 square, and solving this would give us 20 square plus 15 square is 625, sorry, 625, and h square equals to 625. H is equal to under root 625, which is equal to 25, and we can now finally calculate our perimeter, which is the main requirement. Remember, the objective is the perimeter. Do not get distracted from it by getting overwhelmed from all the other workings. So 15 plus 14 plus BC, which we just find out, is 25, and AB, which is 34, and you get the perimeter here, 88 centimeters. This is your answer. Notice that this is 6 marks because of all the distractions that he put in this question for you to find out. So think of it as a detective case where you're given clues and you have to work your way around them. In the 9th question, we have coordinate geometry. Let's read it. Line L is drawn on the grid. Find an equation for L. Give your answer in the form y equals to mx plus c. C is a constant, m is the gradient. So there is a formula for this, which is x minus x1 equals to m multiplied by x minus x1 equals to y. Y minus y1. X1 and y1 are something we can pick up from this question. They are points on this line. Like, this is a very ambiguous point. We can't really tell what this is. So choose distinct point like these, this, and this. I would choose this point, which is 2 on the x-axis, 0 on the y-axis, and this is 4 on the x-axis and minus 1 on the y-axis. M is the gradient. In order to find the gradient, we have a formula: y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. It doesn't matter which value you choose as y2 or y1, as long as you apply this formula right and don't mess up your plus minus. So let's put it in the formula. Y2 is 0. Let me put a comma, sorry. 0 minus 1 over x values are 2 minus 4. Notice that I put 2 and 0 4 and minus 1, like 2 and 0, 4 and minus 1, and not mess up their places. This is one coordinate, this is one coordinate. This is very important for you to get correctly. And we get our gradient as 1 over 2 minus 1 by 2 is the gradient. We could already tell that the gradient would be a negative since the line is moving downwards. It shows a negative slope. So now we have m from the formula, and now we put it, we get x minus x1 2. X1 could be either point from the coordinates we just chose, y minus y1, which is 0, and the final answer we get here is y equals to minus 1 by 2x, and if we multiply this with this basically just cancel out and we get 1. So your answer is minus 1 by 2x plus 1. 1 by 2 is our gradient and 1 is the constant. Then we have another statistics question. Here are the numbers of goals scored by a hockey team in its 11 games this season. We have the data set of the number of goals they scored. Work out the interquartile range of the number of goals. Now interquartile range is basically Q3 minus Q1. Q3 and Q1 are quarters. So if this data set is divided into quarters, there would be 4 quarters. Median is what we call Q2 if you didn't already know. So in order to find Q3, we would just multiply this. This is the total size of the data, and we would multiply it with 3 by 4, and it would give it 8.25. Now 8.25 is not a whole number on this, so we usually round up and find the ninth value in this data set. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So our Q3 is 9 7, because this is the ninth value that we were looking for, and it is 7. Q3 is 7. Now let's work out what would be our Q1. 1 by 4, this is 3.2575, sorry, and as I just said, you round up, it would be 4. Look out for the fourth value, and the fourth value is 2. So Q1 is 2. So the interquartile range is Q3 minus Q1, and Q3 is 7. Q1 is 2, and the answer would be 5. It doesn't really require maths, it just requires you to know your formulas for statistics. Of the 11th question of the exam, write down the highest common factor of 5a and 2b. Give your answer as a product of prime factors. Sorry, we have a and we have b. Now we don't have 5a, so let's find out 5a. 5a would be 5 multiplied with a, which is 2 raised to the power 5 into 5 into 7 square. And since 5 is getting multiplied with this only, because all these have different powers, so it has a power of 1 and it cannot be multiplied with this basically. So 5 and 5 do not get multiplied, their powers get added, so it's 1 and 1, so it would be 2 raised to the power 5 into 5 square into 7 square. This is 5a. Now let's figure out 2b. Now following the same principle, 2 is multiplied with b. 2 cube into 5 cube into 7 quad, which gives us again 2 raised to the power 4, 5 raised to the power 3, 7 raised to the power 4. Let me just make it neat. 7 raised to the power 4. We have 5a and 2b. So in order to solve these types of questions, we take the lowest power. I will tell you why I am saying that in a minute. So we need to know the highest common factor, what's common in between these two. So we know that 2 raised to the power 4 is also included in 2 raised to the power 5, so the common in these two is 2 raised to the power 5, and we also know that 5 raised to the power 2 is also included in 5 raised to the power 3, but that is not the case if vice versa, that 5 raised to the power 3 cannot be included in 5 raised to the power 2 because it is smaller than this. So the lowest lowest possible powers are chosen, and using the same logic used below, we take 7 squared. So this is the highest common factor of these two numbers which you would get. You could check for yourself using a calculator, but the question states that give your answer as a product of prime factors, and we have done just that. If it's still unclear, imagine it as two circles A and B, and the common thing between them is 2 raised to the power 4, 5 raised to the power 3, and 7 raised to the power 2, because the rest would be outliers, and it would either be here or here but not here. This is the common portion, and this is what goes in the common portion. B part of 11th question asks us, it gives us the value of A and B, and it asks us work out the value of AB squared, give your answer as a product of prime factors. Just know that the question is testing you for your ability of handling equations without fumbling, your plus minuses and your multiplication divisions and your laws of indices, nothing else. So this gets multiplied with this because they have the same bases and their powers get added. 2 raised to the power 8, and we have 5 raised to the power 4, this multiplied with this, and 7 squared into 7 quad would be 7 raised to the power 6. And now these are getting squared as well, so no worries, we just multiply this. 2 raised to the power 16, 5 raised to the power 8, 7 raised to the power 12. We go home, we get full marks in this question. We go home after we done the exam, actually. Simultaneous equation question. Show clear algebraic working, solve the simultaneous equations. In this day and age you can solve it with a calculator, but your examiner requires assurance that you know the concepts. So let's move on. I prefer the substitution method. You could also use the elimination method. The substitution method is that you make x or y the subject of these equations. Again, the examiner wants to know that you are good at handling algebraic equations without messing up plus or minuses or multiplications and divisions and sending things across the equals border. And now we have the value of x as this, so we plug it in this equation, the second equation. This is our first equation, this is our second equation. Knowing simultaneous equations goes a long way, guys, trust me. So minus got carried away, minus 3 by 4y plus 5y equals to 16.8. You could use a calculator to simplify this out, and then let's see what goes. 9.6 divided by 4 is 2.4. 6 times 2.4, and this is 0.75 by plus 5y equals to 16.8. Let's multiply 6 with the brackets content. 14.4, this multiplied with this, and 0.75 times 6 is 4.5 minus 4.5y plus 5y equals to 16.8, and we add these and we send this here. We get 0.5y equals to 16.8 minus 14.4. I'm skipping a step, but I just narrated you what I did. So 5 0.5 would be sent to be divided, which is basically a multiplication by with 2, because 0.5 equals 1 by 2, and if you have 1 by 2 and you are sending this over there, and you know 4.8, y equals to 4.8, you put it here. Or if the examiner wants a fraction, it doesn't actually, you could show a fraction as well, he wouldn't mind. And now you have your answer. So just put the value of y here or here, preferably in the second equation or the first, it doesn't really matter, and you get the value of x. So 4x would be 9.6 minus 3, and we just calculated what's y is 4.8, so x would be, sorry, 4x would be 9.6 minus 3 into 4.8 minus 4.8, x would be minus 4.8 divided by 4, and it would be minus 1.2 minus 1.2. We now have solved simultaneous equations using the substitution method. This works very well. Elimination method has its limitations. Scary question. Question 13. Circle properties. Let's read it. A, B, C, and D are points on a circle with center O. Angle BCD is 128 degrees given in the question, and work out the size of angle OBD. Give a reason for each stage of your working. So just for the slow learners, the angle which is in the center, the letter which is in the center is the angle we're talking about. So in this case we are talking about angle OBD. So don't be confused that there is no angle OBD, because the question wants us to create angle OBD, assume it, and this is the final answer that we are looking for. So just to give you some basic rules, that if this is x, then this would be 2x, and since ABCD, this shape is a cyclical quadrilateral, there is a property that the sides facing opposite to each other, so A and C are facing opposite to each other, as you can see. These sides will have a sum in terms of angle equal to 180 degrees. So B and D would also have a sum equal to 180 degrees, and A and C would also have a sum equal to 180 degrees. So angle BAD would be equals to angle 180 degree minus BCD. 180 degrees minus 128 would be, I'm showing extra steps just for extra clarity for you guys. You can show it, you can skip this or this even, so but probably not skip this is important. So we now have angle BAD. Let me just change the color because I can, you guys cannot unfortunately. 52, and now we know angle BOD as well. 52 times 2 is 104. We have two angles, and we also know that angle triangle OBD is an isosceles triangle, because the radius within the circle remains the same. You could draw a line like this and it would also be equal to this line and this line. So we have two equal sides. This makes an isosceles triangle, and since the sum of angles in our triangle is limited to 180 degrees, these two angles are identical. This is a property of isosceles triangle, and we now know that this is 104. So out of 180 degrees, these two will be equally distributed. So if we want to find out angle OBD, we know now that 180 degrees minus 104 is what is left, and since 76 would be divided equally between the two angles, the angle OBD is 38 degrees. Write your final answer and move on. There are multiple ways to attempt questions like these. You could also have used cyclical quadrilateral properties or whatever not. I'm not gonna go into that. I haven't explored that, but if you get the right answer, you are welcome to try that out and get 5 marks. Question 14, another no-brainer. Just keep solving with your eyes open and do not mess things up. Let's start with multiplying these two brackets, then we can multiply the product of these two brackets with this bracket just for simplicity. So 3x plus 1 times 2 minus x, I'm gonna just put it here and then ignore it. So 3x into 2 is 6x, 3x in minus x is 3x squared, 1 into 2 is 2, and 1 into minus x is minus x, times 4 plus x. Now we can simplify this, I hope, and 6x minus x is 5x plus 2 minus 3x squared. I did not change anything except write 2 first and minus 3x later. Do not be afraid. Now we can multiply this bracket with this bracket. So 4 times 5x is 20x, 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times minus 3x is minus 12x squared. Do not fumble your plus minuses please, and x into 5x is plus 5x squared plus 2x minus 3x cube. We are going in the right direction because we get a cube. We should have known that from the start because 3x is multiplying would eventually give us a cube. So now just plus and minus and plus and minus. Let's take out the constant first. 8 is the constant, plus 8, and we have the x terms. 20 plus 2x is 22x, and this is a plus. So now let's take x squared terms. Minus 12x squared plus 5x squared would give us minus 7x squared, and we have just a single cube term, 3x cube. We have now expanded and simplified this. You can write it down in the final answer line. Plus 22x plus 8 secured the marks. Another question from indices. Now just to start off, the power of this bracket is negative, and to make it positive we will reciprocate this whole fraction. So it would be a raised to the power 9 into b raised to the power 4 over a raised to the power 3 into b raised to the power 1, but 1 is not written, so it's not big issue. So as we did before, the powers in the denominator try to kill or unalive the powers in the numerator. So it will eventually give us a raised to the power 6 into b raised to the power 4 power 1 by 2, and whatever's on the power of this bracket will be multiplied with the power of the contents of this bracket. So 1 by 2 times 6 is 3, a raised to the power 3, and b and 4 times 1 by 2 is b raised to the power 2. This is your final answer. I suggest that 3 marks are too much for this, but I guess you guys are lucky. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have question 15. This is a tough nut to crack, but that is why I'm here. So we have the diagram shows isosceles triangle EFG, angle EF equals to GF. Isosceles triangles have these angles equal, obviously. The angle EFG is 130 degrees. The area of triangle EFG is 74 centimeters square. Work out the length EF. Give your answer correct to three significant figures. So the formula for area is 1 by 2 into the base into the height. This is the formula for the area of a triangle, and the base in this case is this, and the height in this case would be an imaginary line stretching from F to a point, let's say M, midpoint, because this line is divided into two equal halves by this point M if we were to cut it in half. So placing things into our formula, let's see what we have and do not have. So 1 by 2 times base is EG times the height is MF. It should be equal to 74. Now there are a lot of missing things in this question, so we need trigonometry to solve this. So if we cut it in half, this angle will be cut into equal halves, 65 degrees and 65 degrees. Let's take an image of this angle. Let's assume that this is our hypotenuse. So this would be E, this would be F, and this would be M. And if this is angle 65 degrees, or just imagine that this is, for your convenience, I'm gonna redraw it so you don't get confused. What is this 2 yapping about? So see, this is F, this is E, and this is M, and this is 65 degrees. Now it makes things a little bit clearer. So if you take sine 65, it will be, so if you remember SOHCAHTOA, it would be opposite this line EM over EF. And if we take cos 65, it would be adjacent over hypotenuse, it would be MF over EF. So we know that EM is separating this line into two halves, so EG is basically equal to, EG would be equal to 2 times EM. So we can work our way towards EG by solving for EM and MF. So MF, from this equation, MF would be cos 65 times EF, and from this equation, the sine equation, we know that EM would be equal to sine 65 times EF, and since EG equals to 2EM, we can now work towards a common variable, which is EF, by plugging this into our main area equation. 1 by 2 2EM times MF, which we just figured out, is cos 65 times EF equals 74. 1 by 2 times 2 into sine 65 into EF cos 65 into EF equals 74. Now do not use your calculators now for calculating sine 65 and cos 65. Do it at the very end. So 2 is to cancel, so we get sine 65 times cos 65, and we have 2 EFs, so it becomes EF square equals to 74. Now bear with me. Now use your calculator, and this is a value equivalent to sine 65 times cos 65, which gives us 193.2003. Go further for accuracy and under root basically whatever this is for maximum accuracy, and you get EF equals to 13.89965, which is 13.9, and your question required 3 significant figures, so I cut it off here. The final answer is 13.9. This was a run for your money, especially if you didn't know the trigonometric functions of sine and cos and what do they imply. Boys and girls, in question 16 we have a question about, let's read it. The table gives information about the heights in meters of the trees in a park. We have height and frequency on the grid. Draw a histogram for this information. Note that we do not have frequency, we have frequency density. The formula for frequency density is class width over frequency. So make a separate table for class width, and class width is basically the answer you get from subtracting these two. So it's 2, 3, 5, 10 and 15. Now you can calculate the frequency density. It would be 2.5, it would be 4. 18 divided by 5 is 3.6, and 1.4. 9 divided by 15 is 0.6. Let's plot these bad boys. Frequency density. So from 0 till 2 we go till 2.5. 0 till 2. I do not have a scale with me right now, unfortunately. Go with a scale in your exam, and it cuts off here. So this is what we get, and later we get 4, and from 2 till 5 it's 4. So from 2 till 5 it's maximum. So it goes up to 5 and then it goes here. So it's basic stuff, nothing too mathematical here except this formula. Just remember it. From 5 till 10 we have 3.6. Use maximum accuracy. This is not a sketch, this is a proper graph. Obviously I am not sitting in an exam, so I'm just giving you an idea of how it will look like. New attempted, so 10 till 20 is 1.4, and 20 till 35 is 0.6. 0.6. Yep, done. Easy marks, easy money. Moving on. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention that it's better for you to shade this area in your exam because your lines may be overlapping on the lines given on the graph and it may not be as visible as you're likely to be. So just shade this area. The examiner knows where your shading ends and he can mark you easily. So moving on to question 17, I can understand that this looks scary to you guys, but this is what the examiner exactly wants you to feel. He wants you to be intimidated and fumble your exam, but that is not how we do things here. This is the power 5 equals to kn, so this is multiplying with this bracket, and this is basically k raised to the power 12 bracket 1 by 4 and 5. So this multiplied by this, and we eventually get k raised to the power 12 5 by 4. So if we multiply 12 with 5 by 4, 12 multiplied with 5 by 4 on your calculator gives us k raised to the power 15 equals to k raised to the power n. So we can see n and 15 are in identical positions, so n is equals to 15. Moving on, we have question 17 part B. This requires you to have a little bit of knowledge about surds. So let's read it. Express 7 over 2 minus under root 3 in the form under root c plus d, where c and d are integers. Show you are working clearly. So the denominator is not rationalized. To rationalize the denominator, we multiply it with a different sign. So it could be either, so if it's 2 under root 3, it could be 2 plus under root 3, or it could be minus 2 minus under root 3, something like that. Okay, but 2 minus under root 3 needs to be gone from the denominator. Maths does not like it apparently, so we multiply this whole fraction with 2 plus under root 3, 2 plus under root 3. Again, the basic and the most fundamental requirement of your examiner is to check that whether you are confident at moving these fractions, and multiplication and divisions. So 2 times 2, 4. 2 times plus under root 3 is plus 2 under root 3. So minus 3 minus under root 3 into 2 is minus 2 under root 3, and minus under root 3 plus under root 3 under roots multiply. So 1 by 2 and 1 by 2 is 0.5 and 0.5 adding up, creating 3 raised to the power 1. So this goes out. 4 minus 3 is 1, so we get 7 into 2. I will handle this later, and so this is 1, and now we get 14 plus 7 under root 3. This is not needed, obviously the denominator is 1. Now the question is still not solved because our required form is under root c and d, and this is not a single c. There are two integers. We need to make it into 1. What we would do is 14 plus 7 under root 3 could be rewritten as 14 plus under root 7 square times 3. Why did I do that? I will explain in a moment. So for this to go inside this, we created an assumption. Well, we didn't create an assumption. This is another way of writing 7. So we wrote 7 but just with extra steps because this and this cancel. So we wrote 7 but with just extra steps. So when I wrote 7 square raised to the power 1 by 2, this can now be multiplied with 1 by 3 raised to the power 1 by 2. So this is another form of expressing 7 again. So I wrote it like this. So 7 square could now be multiplied with 3, and this gives us 147, and your final answer is 14 under root 147, or I guess it was the other way around. So just to be safe, just to not make the examiner's job hard, we make it under root 147 plus 14 and good day. Else we are at question 18. Now this is a question about cylinders, shapes and surface areas. So let's read it. The diagram shows two similar vases A and B. The height of vase A is 30 centimeter. The height of vase B is 12 centimeters. Given that surface area of vase A is given that surface area of vase A subtracted from the surface area of vase B is 178.5 centimeters square. Well, actually the opposite. This is getting subtracted from this because this is the smaller vase, obviously. Find the surface area of vase A. So now you might be thinking that this is relevant. No, this is not, since we do not have the radius of these vases. There is a very simple property about cylinders or similar shapes, I would say. Similar shapes have a property that their surface areas are in the proportion of the squares of corresponding lengths. So let me show you what I mean by this. So height of vase A is 30 and height of vase B is 12. So the square of this would be equal to surface area of, let's say, A and surface area of B. So 30 over 12 whole square is approximately, let's use a calculator for this. So, well, not approximately, it is exactly 6.25. So the surface area of the bigger was A is 6.25 times greater than the surface area of vase B. So if I were to put it in an equation like this, surface area of vase A is 6.25 times the surface area of vase B. Makes total sense, right? So now let's use it in the equation that the question has given us. This is the relationship between the two vases. So surface area of vase A is surface area of vase A, obviously, but surface area of vase B could be rewritten as surface area of vase A over 6.25 equals to 178.5, and now we can solve for surface area of vase A. 6.25 times surface area of vase A minus surface area of vase A equals to 178.5 times 6.25. Notice what I did there. I took a common denominator and multiplied this with this and then sent it here. Once it was here and then I sent it here. So just skip the step. You can show it or you cannot. It is up to you. 178.5 into 6.25 is 1115.625. 6.25 SAA minus SAA. So this is actually 1, so it would be 5.25 SAA equals to 1115.6.25 and SAA 1115.625 divided by 5.25 would give us 115.625 divided by 5.25, 212.5. This is your final answer. So just as a recap, you needed to know this to solve this. Surface areas are in for similar shapes. Disclaimer: similar shapes. Well, just so you know, surface areas are in proportion of the squares of corresponding lengths, and this corresponding lengths and their square means that surface area of was A was 6.25 times the surface area of was B, and using that we created a relationship and then we substituted it into the equation provided by the question, and we were able to get the surface area of was A. Anything else? We are at question 19. Let's give it a read. A curve C has equation y equals to x cubed minus 8x squared minus 12x plus 5. Curve C has exactly two stationary points. Stationary points stand for turning points, where the curve takes a turn. So at one point, continuing, curve C has exactly two stationary points, one at point A and one at point B, such that x coordinate of point A is greater than x coordinate of point B. Find the coordinates of point A. Show clear algebraic workings. So a cubic equation, if you didn't already know, goes something like this. We have two turning points, and they are turning points because the gradient is exactly 0, because the curve is turning. In order to find that, we need to create the equation of gradient, which we will do by using calculus, short form calc. So dy by dx will give the equation of the gradient of this curve. 3x squared, so power multiplies with the x and the original power gets subtracted by 1. This is how you differentiate if you didn't already know. Now we have the equation of gradient. Now we put it equal to 0. Now this is a quadratic equation. You could use the quadratic formula or factor. I, however, am going to use a calculator because I can. You have to show your proper workings or else you wouldn't get marks. So x is equals to 6 and x is equals to negative 2 by 3. Now it's evident that x is greater, so probably our point A is at a coordinate 6, and y, we need to find the y. Now we will go back to our original equation and plug x into it to find the y coordinate, where the graph is turning, and it's the coordinates for point A. Using a calculator, y is equals to minus 139. So x coordinate 6, y coordinate minus 139. So my graph wasn't really accurate, because if it would be, the well, this is not obviously the point of the question, but I'm trying to give you an understanding of how this works. So it is probably turning somewhere down there, and it's minus 139 and 6. So yeah, you get the point. Okay, so in question 20 we have express 2x squared minus 11x plus 9 in the form a x minus b whole square minus c, where a, b and c are numbers to be found. Note that this is what we call a completed square form, and we have to express this equation in this form. So first of all, we take 2 common out of this, plus 9 by 2, and we rewrite this in a particular way. Just remember these steps for your exams. We take plus, we take the coefficient of whatever is with the x and divide it by 2 and square it, and then minus 11 by 4 square plus 9 by 2. So we now take these 3 items x minus and square, and this is our a, and the sum of whatever this is would be our c. So let me just highlight this for you, and we have x, we have our b, we have the square from here, and the sign which is in the original equation will be picked, which is the minus, and a would be 2. So I hope you get the idea of what I'm trying to do here, making lines so you understand when to pick what thing. So we would rewrite it as x, oh, notice I made a blunder, only x will come, x square will not, x minus 11 by 4 whole square, and now solving this in a calculator, 11 by 4 square plus 9 by 2 gives us minus 49 by 16, and then we solve 2 with the bracket, so 2 x minus 11 by 4 square, oh what did I do, square, so it would be 49 by 8, and you have your answer. Notice that these are also what we call turning points on the curve. Minus 49 by 8 and 11 by 4 are the coordinates of y and x axis that where the curve is turning. So this is just extra knowledge, it might be useful in the later questions. So write your final answer here. Question 20 part B. The curve C has the equation y equals to 2x minus 3 whole square minus 11 x minus 3 plus 9. The point P is the minimum point on C. C is the curve, and we have the equation. Find the coordinates of point P. So as I told you in the previous question that these coordinates are the turning point in a curve. So basically what the examiner is asking us is to convert this first into a quadratic equation and then make it into completed square form. So let's just do that. These questions are testing you how well you can open and close quadratic equations without messing up. So let's go. 2x square plus 9 minus 6x is the expansion of this bracket, x minus 3 whole square, and then we have 11x plus 33, because minus minus is plus, keep note, plus 9, and now 2x square plus 18 minus 12x minus 11x plus 33 plus 9, constant and constant, 18 plus 33 plus 9, it is 60. So we have 2x square plus 60 and xx, so we have minus 12 minus 11 minus 23x equals to y. So let's just make it into our completed square form. There is another method that you differentiate this equation, and wherever the gradient is 0, that is the turning point of the curve, but you could just do it with completed square method because the marks are not justified for performing calculus on this. So 2 common, x square minus 23 by 2x plus 30, and 2 common, x square minus 20 just to make it neat, 23 by 2x now plus 23 by 4 whole square minus 23 by 4 whole square plus 30, and solving further we have 2x square minus, oh, again it's good that you see my mistakes so that you remember that these are very common and you will definitely avoid them now. So minus 23 by 4 whole square on my calculator plus 30 gives us 49 by 16 again, coincidentally. So minus 49 by 16 and 2x minus 23 by 4 square minus no my mistake 49 by 8. So notice that this is our y coordinate, and x minus 23 by 4 equals to 0. X equals to 23 by 4 is our x coordinate. So 23 by 4 and minus 49 by 8 are your final coordinates for the turning point. Question 21. There are 25 counters in a bag such that 6 counters are blue, x counters are orange where x is greater than 9. The rest of the counters are pink. Malam takes at random 2 of the counters from the bag. The probability that Malam takes one orange counter and one pink counter is 22 by 75. Calculate the probability that Malam takes two pink counters from the bag. Show clear algebraic working. So notice that there is a bag and there are 25 counters in it. 6 of them are blue, and since we don't know how many counters are there for orange, we also don't know how many counters are there for pink as a consequence of that. So let's assume that the probability is 22 by 75, that since she is picking the counters two times, so the outcome will be repeated two times, because there's a chance that she first picks orange and then picks pink, or the probability that she first picks pink and then picks orange. So these are two outcomes. So both of these outcomes will have the same probability for orange and pink. So I put 2 as in the beginning, so it doesn't create any confusions earlier on. Sorry, that glitch. So first of all, we know that the probability of picking an orange is x over 25, but we now know that since 6 of them are blue, so we automatically know that they are irrelevant for us. So we have to choose from the 19 that are available for us, and among those 19, x are orange, so we also subtract that and we get 24. Now notice why I didn't put 25. Instead I put 24 over here, because she has already picked a counter from the bag and she is picking without replacement, so she has one less option to choose from now. If she was picking with replacement, then the denominator would stay 25. So take care of this in your exam. So now solving this, we get 22 by 75 divided by 2, and since we are dividing this here, we could multiply this here and multiply this here as well. Into 25 into 24 equals to x times 19 minus x. I hope I didn't skip too many steps for you to understand. It's basic algebra, so wrap your heads around that. This gives us 88 equals to x into 19 minus x, and 88 equals to 19x minus x squared. This gives us an quadratic equation. You can solve with the quadratic formula in your exam. For obvious reasons, I'm using a calculator, but you have to show workings in your exam because the examiner needs to know that you know how to solve quadratic equations. Weird. So x is either equals to 11, and the second answer is x is equals to 8. Now you must be wondering, which one do I choose? Notice that the examiner cleared that doubt, that x is greater than 9, so there are 11 orange counters in the bag. Now that we are clear there are 11 counters in the bag, the question's main requirement is calculate the probability that Malam takes two pink counters from the bag. So if there are 6 blue counters and 11 orange counters out of 25, and there are 25 total counters, so it would give us how many pink counters? 25 minus 17. We have 8 pink counters, and the probability that she uses 8 pink counters is 8 over 25 times 7 over 24, because again, first of all, there is one less option since she has pick one out from the counter bag, and since she has picked one pink already, so there is now one less pink for her to choose. So that's why I put 7 and 8, and we solve 8 over 25 times 7 over 24. The answer is 7 by 75. This is your final answer. Write it in the answer space. You are good to go. We have question number 22. The diagram shows a cuboid ABCDEFGH with a horizontal base ADEH. This is the base, the shaded area, and we have 8 centimeters of height, 12 centimeters of width, and 20 centimeter of length. And AB equals to 8 centimeter, AD equals to 12 centimeter, DE equals to 20 centimeter. M is the midpoint of the base ADEH. P is the midpoint of the edge CF. So this cuts it in half. Work out the size of the angle BMP. Give your answer correct to 1 decimal place. So try to visualize this with me. This question actually requires a lot of triangles, trigonometry, and your knowledge about geometry basically. So the angle we are trying to find is this. This is an imaginary angle joining BMP. So we need to find out this angle, and to get there we need a couple of steps. So starting off, let's imagine a triangle here first. I am using different colors for your convenience in tracking where I'm going with each color. So we have a triangle MAD. The angle of this is alpha. It's not relevant right now, and we have this as 12 centimeters, but we do know that the height of this is equals to 20 centimeter, because if we cut it in half, sorry, it's not 20 centimeter, it's 10 centimeters, because if we cut it in half, this is also equally divided. So now imagine a circle, a triangle actually, where MA, and if we cut it in half we get X. So MAX is a circle, triangle, where this is 6 centimeter, because X is a midpoint on this line which cuts it in half. So this would be 6, and this is 10, because this is the height of this line MX, and using hypotenuse formula h square equals to p square plus p square, we get h equals to under root 6 plus 10 square square. The answer is 2 under root 34. Let me label this. Moving on, we get another obstacle in our way, which is finding out this length. So we know that this is 8 centimeter, and we now have this length. So using this, imagine another triangle with me, BAM, where BA is 8 centimeter, and we just found out AM is 2 under root 34. So using another formula, we get h equals to 8 square plus 2 under root 34 square. Solving this would give us the length of BM. Ten under root 2. Let's label this. And the second relevant length in this is the length PM. So in order to find PM, we create another imaginary line from M to, let's say, Z, and ZPM would be another triangle. Let's imagine this. ZPM, PZ is 8 centimeters as the height of the cuboid, and ZM is 6 centimeters, because if we imagine this, this is half of AD and half of AD is 6. So we can find out the length of MP would be under root 6 square plus 8 square, which would be equal to 10. Let me label this as 10, and the final important length is BP to form our triangle BMP. And in order to find BP, we can use these sides as well, BC and CP. We know that BC is 12 centimeters and CP is 10 centimeters. So another triangle, the shape of which would be something like this. BCP, this is 12 centimeters and this is 10, so BP would be under root 12 square plus 10 square. So now that we have three sides of the triangle BMP, this and this and this, so let me just this color is not very nice, so this is 10 under root 2, this is 10, and this is now 2 under root 61, and we need the angle BMP. Let's look at the next page. They have given plenty of space for this question because they knew it would take some working. PBM, this is 2 under root 61, this is 10 under root 2, and this is 10. Now in order to find angle alpha, you need cos rule. So cos alpha would be equal to, we take the square of these sides, so the square sides are called B and C. So 10 under root 2 would be B, so 10 under root 2 whole square plus 10 square minus 2 under root 61 square, and we divided by 2BC, so it would be 2 times 10 under root 2 times 10. And solving this, you get 200 plus 100 minus 244 over 2, 10 under 2 into 10, and the final answer would be, not yet, we need to first find the cos inverse of alpha. So cos alpha is 200 plus 100 minus 244, and it is 10 into 2, 2 into 10 under 2 into 10, that's 0.28, and alpha equals to cos inverse 0.28, and the final answer is cos inverse 0.28, which is, sorry, I made a mistake. This is not 0.28, this is 0.197989. Go as far as you would like for accuracy, or just plug this value, the answer of this in your calculator, and get the maximum accurate answer, 197989, and this would give us 78.58, or rounded off to 78.6. This is your final answer, 78.6, and that is the second last question of the exam. We're pretty far. So we have the 23rd question with us. Here are the first three terms of an arithmetic sequence: 4x minus 4, x plus 2, and 7x minus 9. Find as an integer the sum of the first 40 terms of the sequence. Now, in an arithmetic sequence, a common amount d is being added to every term. A is the first term, so a second term would be a plus d, and the third term would be a plus 2d. So if we use that logic and we have our a 4x minus 14, and if we add d into it, we would get x plus 2. And if we have our third amount x plus 2 and we add d in it again, we should be getting 7x minus 9. So we have a pair of simultaneous equations here by design of this question. In these we will solve for d and x, and later find out the sum of the first 40 terms, for which there is a formula, and that formula needs the value of d and x. So solving the first equation, we get d is equals to minus 3x plus 16, and if we plug d in the second equation, we get x plus 2 plus minus 3x plus 16 equals to 7x minus 9. And if we solve for x over here, obviously you need to show sufficient steps in these type of questions, and we get 1 minus 3 minus 7, we get minus 9x, and we get 2 plus 16 plus 9 equals to minus 27. Minus cancels each other and x is left alone. 27 divided by 9 is 3, so we get x equals to 3. And if we plug this in our first equation back, so we get minus 9 plus 16, it would give us d is equal to 7. So we have our x and d, and our a would be, the first term of the equation would be 4 times 3 plus 16, and this is a negative positive 4, my bad, let me just recheck. Yeah, and this is 14 again. Is it a plus or a minus? Yeah, so plugging this in, we get a is 4 times 3 minus 14 minus 2. And so the formula for the sum in an arithmetic progression is n over 2. N is the term we need to find the sum for, so n will be 40 in this case, and it's 2a plus n minus 1 bracket d. This is the formula, and we now have d, a, and n is 40, so let's just solve. 40 over 2, 2 times minus 2 plus 39 times 7. It's very basic now. Put it in the calculator, and 2 into minus 2 plus 39 into 7, we get S40 would be 5380. If you are not that confident on your calc, just show extra steps and reach this answer. Here we are with the whole exam. If you like this video, please leave a like, comment your thoughts or any mistakes I made, and please subscribe. And thank you for watching Teaching by SM.